Do people actually believe ACAB, or is it just an expression? It can mean different things to different people. I've had conversations with some people, some of which had been cops, who are very serious about every cop having some responsibility for the perpetuation of violence and corruption within the system. Some went further to say that worse than shirking responsibility, cops that don't do bad things are benefiting from a corrupt system at the cost of others. So they were therefore not just allowing evil but actively participating in it. Some are just talking about a system that does not allow a good person to operate morally within the system. People who have tried have been murdered in the past, and more sympathetic to people who are afraid to push back against the system. For some it isn't even about that. They say it as a slogan to remind people not to trust cops. They do often try to get people to submit to searches they didn't have to, or otherwise surrender rights they have with deception or trickery. So repeating and spreading the message that cops are not on your side is important to them. Sorta like a shorthand for, remember, cops have no obligation to protect you. Will put themselves first over the safety of civilians, including children, and will lie and trick people to get them for stuff, including innocent people. That's good advice, and if you deal with a chill cop who follows the law and isn't out to get you, it's better to be safe than sorry. I've known plenty of individual cops who are very kind and are genuinely nice people. But the structure of the police is an abhorrent disgrace. Sure, Officer Shang doesn't abuse his power, but odds are he wouldn't report a fellow officer because probably nothing would be done about it. He'd be known as a blab or a rat and be ostracized by the others. That on top of all of the cruel and corrupt and violent cops who've been outed that can just move one jurisdiction over and work there. Qualified immunities, the police union in general, civil forfeiture, having taxpayers pay for their lawsuits. A rotten log can grow edible mushrooms now and then, but it's still a corpse rotting in waste, growing toxins. The system is set up so that if a good cop rats out bad cops, they are ostracized like Serpico was, and driven out of the force, which means that all the true good cops have left for other more satisfying jobs, leaving us with the saluting, yes, sir, assholes that beat up citizens for no good reason. It's a description of a systematic problem. In my opinion, the system sort of makes it hard to stay there as a good cop when you see all these clubs of bad cops doing bad things. Just a few bad apples, is what people excusing cop brutality usually say, without remembering the rest of the saying, which is, ruin the whole barrel. A barrel being approximately 350 medium-sized apples. The saying is a metaphor relying on the fact that bruised, bad, or moldy apples will rot and spread that rot to other apples. In the 19th century, when apples were brought to market in barrels 60 ga or larger, or hogsheads, the saying was more of a statement of farmer quality assurance. But it's true in people as well. 2 or 3 people can poison or force acceptance in a much larger community of persons of bad behavior. The rot, once set, can't be cleaned out by removing the bad apples that started it. The barrel had to be dumped entirely or burned, because the rot would be in the wood itself as well. So when people say ACAB, they're identifying that the bad apples have succeeded in infusing policing by consent with corruption to the highest levels. They're saying that the rot is set so far that the police are no longer a trustworthy arm of the government. That's a bad place for cops to be in. Anyone who believes all less than anybody or less than anything is an idiot. Yes, I am aware of the irony of this statement. The thing is, how can you be a good cop when your partner is a bad cop, and you have quietly done your duty? Your duty was to stand up and stop that guy from abusing his authority. 99% of cops give the rest a bad name. The police do not attract people who believe in changing things for the better or for justice. People who want to become cops want power over people. They cannot and could never command respect as citizens for whatever reason. Maybe they have a chip on their shoulder. Maybe they were bullied. Maybe they aren't blessed with intellect. But now that they have the badge, people better respect them. And guess what? When someone defies their orders, especially at home, they get beaten up. I emphasize especially at home. If it helps, think of it as all cops are bastardized instead. It's not that every cop is shooting people on sight or acting as a mindless thug. The problem is, the culture that encourages it is so ingrained, so prevalent, that the only solutions for an honest, honorable, upstanding person is to either resign or stand idly by, remaining silent while other people around them do bad things. The first group cease to be cops, and the second group have become complicit. That's the hell of an institutional problem. It self-selects and turns good people bad. There are some cops who try to take a third route and actively try to change things. Those tend to get drummed out of the force. Or else they stay grunts their whole careers, getting passed up for promotion because they refuse to play the game and stand by their brothers. After all, if two of your own are up from promotion, would you back the guy who doesn't have your back in turn? Or would you support the guy who's always there for you, even if they probably shouldn't be? That's if they're lucky. If they're unlucky, and particularly loud about their objections, their brothers just might not respond to a call for help in time one bad night. That's not nearly as common as it used to be, but on occasion. Yes, the police do not serve the interests of the community. They serve the interests of the state. They do not seek to resolve issues to the benefit of the people they serve but follow orders and guidelines handed to them by the state. They do not care if those they are sworn to protect are homeless, being evicted from their house, or are having their wages stolen by the companies they work for. They do not work for you. If you are still having trouble grasping what I'm saying, imagine the state passed some law that would be extremely detrimental to the people and oppressive, i.e., national gun seizure or making it illegal for same-sex couples to show PDA. You would find out real quick that the police are not your friends and they are not on your side. Yes, if you don't call out injustice within your own police force when you see it, then you are part of the problem. The cops that continue to let crimes against innocent citizens occur are just as guilty as the cops that commit those crimes. Good people don't last long in such a corrupt, rotten system. If you see your partners abuse their power and you stand up and talk, which is what a decent person would do, you are in lots of trouble. So most of the time you either resign or get fired. And if you see them and you shut up and remain there, letting them carry on with their brutal acts despite your vows to serve and protect the citizens, you are not much better than them. The result is that all cops are either abusers or accessory to the abusers. So bastards either way. Of course there are exceptions to the rule, and it's not the same in every country. But it's mostly true, and it shows in the numbers of police brutality. I don't think all cops are bad because of the actions of a few. I know all cops are bad because as a condition of their employment, swear to enforce all laws, including laws which are unjust, and enforce violence on peaceful people. It's the job that they are sworn to do, pledging to suspend morality and logic in order to unquestionably impose the will of psychopaths and sociopaths on your fellow man is morally unacceptable. So yes, all cops are bad, but not because of the actions of a few. There are good people, and there are cops who are otherwise good people, but There are no good cops. Copy pasta. It's a description of a system. Plus, they certainly all do bad things. And if criminals are bad for doing a bad thing, why wouldn't a cop be? ACAB. Not bastards, but all cops are bad. I haven't met one in my almost 50 years in NYC who wasn't a literal bad person. Racist, misogynist, classist, etc. This is not an opinion based on me being detained. These are based on growing up around them. Not one joined the force for the greater good. They did it for pension, benefits, and to carry on generational traditions. They are all crooked. One gets happy endings at massage parlors and then flashes his badge so it's free. One uses the N-word along with all the other slurs regularly and calls blacks people Mondays. Why? Because nobody likes Monday. Have I reported them? You're goddamn right I did. Did it make any difference? None. The worst instance is asking a friend's police officer husband about a friend's case. Very high-profile murder in NYC. He told me, there is no doubt it was him. Guess who is innocent and working with the Innocence Project now because the evidence was withheld by NYPD. ACAB. When I meet a good one, I'll change my mind. A cop who doesn't uphold the law is a D cop. Only other cops can hold him accountable, and thus uphold the law. So if they don't, they are all D cops. I've known plenty of cops who are very kind and are really nice people. People are people and structure is structure, and very often it has no connection. This entire time, I thought it was, all cops are bad. I believe the people who do the job can be good people. I believe you when you say your uncle who is a cop has always been a good man to you. Has always had your back. I believe you when you say your sister who is a cop is a kind, caring woman. A loving mom. And a hard worker. I believe you that you feel like you're helping the community by becoming a cop. And that you have a good heart and you'd never hurt anyone. I also believe that no one can have that much power, that much access to weaponry, and that much exposure to crime and their perpetrators without eventually becoming jaded, power-hungry, and violent. Too many good men, women, good fathers, mothers, good brothers, sisters, become horrible, murderous cops. I don't trust any of them. They may be good when they're over your house, when you went to school with them, when you're at the bar with them, but I feel as though they change entirely once that uniform is on.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic ACAB is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.